Welcome to our Setting Goals for Carers webinar. I wanted to start this session by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people, the Wiradjuri people, the Wadawurrung people, and the Dja Dja Wurrung people, the traditional and rightful owners of the lands on which myself and my colleagues are presenting this webinar today. I pay my respects to their elders past and present and extend these respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who might be joining us today. I would also like to acknowledge and recognise the important role that carers make to our community and the unique knowledge that they hold. We know that we can only provide quality care through valuing, respecting, and drawing upon the lived experience and expertise of consumers, families, and carers. So my name is Terri and I'm an engagement advisor for Holstep Health, who look after the Carer Gateway program in Victoria. And I'm joined today by my colleague Carmen, who's going to be monitoring the Q&A for us today. I'm also joined by my colleague Janneke Barber-Stevens, who is a team leader with Carer Gateway Grampians Health and supports teams to deliver carer services in the community, as well as supervisors and trains coaches in the carer coaching program. I'm also joined by Suzie Hogan, a wellbeing and support planner with Carer Gateway Uniting VicTas, who provides carer coaching and peer support, helping carers, especially in rural areas, to build resilience and thrive. So just a reminder that today's session will be recorded for those who are unable to attend live, and so that you can rewatch it at a later date. As this is a webinar, cameras and mics are off. However, the chat function is on, so please feel free to submit your questions throughout this webinar, and we'll have plenty of time for a Q&A later on. I also just wanted to make note that in the recording, no names will be shown at all either, just for some reassurance. All right, so we know that many of you might not actually be familiar with the Carer Gateway program, so I'm going to provide a quick overview before I hand over to Janneke and Suzie. So carers are the family members and friends who are looking after someone with a disability, mental health condition, chronic illness, or are frail due to age. And there's almost 800,000 carers in Victoria, which is about 1 in 9 people. And the sole purpose of the Carer Gateway program is to provide free support specifically for them. So to be eligible for the service, as I mentioned, you need to be caring for someone with a disability, mental health condition, chronic illness, or is frail due to age, and in a caring role that's likely to be 6 months or more. So now this isn't an exact cutoff date. We just use this to differentiate between, for example, someone who might be caring for their partner who's broken their leg but expected to make a full recovery versus someone in an ongoing caring role. I also really wanted to note that palliative care and recently bereaved carers are the exception here as well. So it's not required. There's no citizenship, residence or visa requirements. It's not means tested, and it's also not affected by other government supports, including the carer allowance and the carer payment. So we are focusing on our coaching service today. However, here is a quick overview of the other supports that we do have available. So these include our tailored support packages, our counselling service. We also do planned and emergency respite, and there's some online skills courses available as well. And lastly, how to actually access the service. So the first step is getting in touch and registering. We will provide some more information about that at the end of this webinar. But once you've registered, you're then put in touch with a local support planner, depending on where you live in Victoria, and they'll have a longer conversation with you about how you're going and what supports and services might be able to help you. The next step is you access those services and supports, and finally, there will be a check-in to see whether or not they've been helpful to you. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Suzie and Janneke from our partners at Uniting VicTas and Grampians Health, who are going to dive deeper into our carer coaching service.
Hi, welcome everyone. I hope you will get some valuable information out of this webinar today and have some questions for us at the end. On the slide, you see a picture from Lunik, who has explained coaching really well, because with a coach you can talk about your situation and explore what it is that you would like to change. These conversations will be explorative and lead to a plan to reach your goal.
Hi everybody, I'd just like to talk about what actually the coaching is. It's basically a time when you can be linked up with a coach and it's a one-on-one situation where you can talk about and think about your well-being and where you'd like to be in the future. It's also an opportunity for you to balance your needs and the needs of the people you're caring for. And through coaching, you can look at steps and then move in regard to future goals or future strategies that you'd like to put in place for your life.
So the start of a new year is a time for New Year's resolutions and making plans for the year ahead. Everyone has different goals, but over the years we have seen a lot of carers with similar challenges. Some examples of goals are to be able to have more time to yourself, creating more balance between your role as a carer and as a parent or partner of the person you're caring for, picking up hobbies that you haven't been paying attention to for quite a while. There can be health-related goals such as walking more, becoming fitter, or finally making that appointment with the GP for a checkup for you. Caring for someone can be so stressful and time-consuming that it can be hard to maintain friendships. A coach can talk with you about this as well. Some carers need assistance to engage some financial support, and others want to get back into work or study. Sometimes carers would like to go on a holiday but feel a bit guilty about taking a break or can't find the time to do so. And last but not least, we have to mention the setting the boundaries and saying no. This is a goal for many carers.
So this slide just explains what the coaching sessions look like. Basically, you can have a session with a coach and it can go for up to 1 hour. It can be done via video or it can be done via phone. In some regions, you can also do face-to-face coaching, as I do face-to-face coaching in Albury. And the appointments are in business hours. And of course, coaching is free, so no cost to you. Now, this next slide talks about Nina, and Nina's actually a real person who did get support from Carer Gateway in regard to coaching. So I suppose this just explains how useful coaching was to her, because she really wanted to do more than just to be seen as just caring for her mum. So I suppose with the help of a coach, she was able to look at how she could manage her stress. She was able to also set some boundaries and then move on. As part of the coaching program, she actually then got involved in doing a Pilates instructor course. And through that, she's now been able to open up her own studio to teach Pilates. So that was a really important journey for her. And as the quote says, that through the skills and the support of the coach, she was able to put her goal into practice, which was to actually open up a Pilates studio.
Sometimes we get the question, what's the difference between coaching and counselling? And we often use the concept of driving a car to explain the difference between coaching and counselling. Counselling is very much like looking into the rear vision mirror of life, looking at the road you have travelled to get to where you are today. Counselling can happen face-to-face or over the phone and is focused on coping, healing, and it is therapeutic. Coaching is very much looking through your front window of your car at the road ahead. It has a future focus. It looks at practical improvement, capacity building, and is action focused. Coaching is all about establishing goals to implement change. A coach will ask many questions and may ask you about your values. Knowing your values will help shape your goal and your motivation to work towards the goal. Let me explain this a little further. Have a look at this tree. The trunk of the tree are the values. The trunk and therefore the values are the strong core that gives purpose. Then we go to the branches. The branches are the main goals, something you would like to happen, but you haven't really followed through or explored any further. Then we move on to the tweaks, and the tweaks are the smaller parts of the goal, the steps or mini goals we need to achieve the main goal. They add further detail. The leaves are the actions and choices within the goal, the practical steps that we need to take to achieve it. So the next slide will show you a number of values. We will give you about a minute or so to have a look at these and pick 5 values that are important to you. Don't overthink it. Just pick some that jump at you. So that might be an exercise that a coach might do with you, because identifying your values can help you identify and clarify your goals. A coach may use this exercise and help you understand the motivation behind your goals, which can support you to achieve them. With the coach, you will then be able to set the smaller goals and actions and develop a strategy. The coach will encourage you and support and review with you the success of reaching your goal and support you along your journey. Just an example here to how this potentially could work. So we have the main goal. So that would be the branch. It says, I want to travel more this year. So the values, the trunk of the tree of this person would be curiosity, personal development, fun, collaboration, and community. The refined goal with the leaves and the twigs will then be for this person, I want to make an overseas trip this year, explore new places because I love learning and experiencing different cultures and people through their food, language, and environment. I really love this slide because it basically shows how effective it can be to make the smaller goals. With the smaller steps, if you look at the actions and the smaller goals within the bigger goal, you could think about things like visiting the travel agent, getting a quote, saving money, deciding when you want to go, where you want to go, looking at plane tickets. All those are little steps that you can take towards reaching your goal of wanting to travel more. And yeah, that was it for that little exercise.
All right, thanks, Janneke and Suzie. So we've given an overview into the coaching service and how it is very goals-based and how that ties in. So we're going to hand over to a Q&A now. If you haven't already, please use the chat function or the Q&A function. It looks like a little person with, I think, a question mark or an exclamation mark. Carmen, has anyone sent through any questions so far? No? Okay, please feel free to do that. But lucky for you, we do have some frequently asked questions. So I am going to ask Suzie and Janneke a couple of these. I'm sure some of you were thinking the same thing. But Carmen, please jump in if anyone does pop one through in the meantime. So Suzie, one of the questions we get asked all the time, are there any topics that you can't cover with a carer coach?
No, look, Terri, most topics you can cover, but there are a few things that, for example, the coaches, there's lots of things that we don't have specific advice or we don't have specific information about. So things like, for example, if you're wanting help with, financial counselling, well, we can't actually provide that or that support, but we would refer you to a financial coach or counsellor perhaps in your area, or give you some information on where else you could go to for support.
Right. So you could help with the goal of booking an appointment with a financial counsellor.
Yes, we could, and
great.
things like relationships, we don't provide advice around that, but we might be able to give you contacts or information on where else you could go for relationship counselling.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Suzie. Janneke, I know you touched on this in the presentation, but could you just sort of reiterate what the difference between coaching and counselling is?
Yep. In coaching, you look at the future and how you would like to make some changes. This happens with help of goals that are broken into smaller steps. And in counseling, you dive into the past and the focus is on coping, healing, and emotional well-being.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So, Suzie, another one we get asked a lot is whether or not the coach can help with personal goals, or whether or not it's about coaching the carer to better care for the person that they look after. Is that, which one does it go towards?
Yeah, look, it can be both. Generally, it's about personal goals. For example, some of the ways that I've supported people is, I've helped them develop some skills around, say, improving their parenting skills, or I've also improved people that skills to perhaps look at stuff like on Centrelink. So that could be for them to maybe get carers payment, but it can also be around the needs of the person they're caring for. Like, for example, sometimes I've worked with carers who are trying to find respite in, say, their region. So we've actually gone on to websites like My Aged Care and looked up where there's respite, say, in their region, and so it can be quite practical. And I often share information in things like the chats. I'll share my screen sometimes. So I'll say, look, here's some information about the carers payment. So it's very flexible in the type of goals that you can discuss with your coach. So thanks for that, Terri.
Yeah, great. Perfect. So we mentioned that carers can access up to 6 sessions. Janneke, what happens after 6 sessions?
Look, in coaching, we offer up to 6 sessions, as you say, Terri, but from experience, we know that most coaching journeys require between 4 to 6 sessions. If you're not quite ready to finish coaching at the 6th session, you can talk with your coach. Sometimes it may be possible to extend with 1 or 2 extra sessions, but beware that this can vary between different areas of the state. Carer Gateway supports are set up to be short-term.
Right. So we'd encourage people to get in touch if they wanted to continue, or maybe flag it a bit early at like 5th session or so.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, great. And then I guess similarly, if we do have a carer who has registered with Carer Gateway before, but they haven't asked or accessed the coaching service, how would we encourage them to do that? I'll throw that to you, Janneke.
Yeah. Look, we recommend contacting the 1800 number or the local outlet. Both options can have a look at your details and advise you what needs to happen. Sometimes a new case will need to be opened and you may need to have a conversation about your current situation to complete the Carer Star. But in other situations, when your case is still active, the staff member that you have been speaking to earlier can ensure that you can access the coaching.
So we do have 2 questions.
Great.
So first one is, how long between sessions?
It can vary.
You go.
I was going to say it can vary really depending on what the carer's wanting and what their goals are. Often I give people a couple of weeks usually to put goals into place, but sometimes it can be longer than that, or it can be shorter. You know, sometimes people will need a bit more time to put goals into place. So, you know, we might do one session, say, in February, and then we might do another session in March. So, yeah, Janneke, did you want to add anything to that?
I think we do very much the same, Suzie.
Thanks. Good question.
The second question is, can you assist with providing or guiding towards resources such as templates or strategies for how to manage the admin of caring? For example, keeping track of various referrals and prescriptions, or keeping comprehensive notes from treating physicians.
That definitely ties back into that question before about whether or not coaching is about personal goals or how to help being, you know, how to help be a carer. And I think that definitely falls in line with a lot of what you were saying, Suzie, about how you've helped navigate that. But I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, look, there are a number of tools that we can share with carers depending on what they're wanting. But yeah, definitely we can help with some practical things, you know. And I suppose I often work with carers to work out, how do they remember things, and how can they follow through things? Because, you know, we might introduce that, okay, they use their calendars more, or it could be that, you know, they put things on their fridges to remind them, or have a whiteboard. So I suppose it's really about discussing, you know, how's the best way that they learn, and what might motivate them, I suppose, to put the goals into place. And then we'll often do a bit of research too if we don't have the tools. I know what I do, and I'm sure Janneke would do this too, is you know, we'll do a bit of research and then provide the carer with the tools. So yes, we can provide some practical tools.
Yeah, you can basically see it as someone walking the journey alongside you and thinking with you. So yeah, it's very much like that.
Before I go into the next, well, it'll lead into sort of another question that we get asked a lot, but I think we often like to refer to it as having a cheerleader in your corner, like someone to be with you while you figure things out and to support you to figure things out. But the next question I had, Suzie, is, will a coach tell you how to achieve your goal? And I think you just touched on it a little bit, but I'll ask you specifically.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're really there to facilitate. We're there to empower the person to reach their own goals. Often we encourage that people actually do commit for a few sessions, and we will support them as much as we can to put their strategies into place. And depending on where people are up to, you know, we can have quite simple goals, and then we will also sort of support them to develop some strategies. And, you know, we don't like to set people up to fail. So we really, I suppose, work with carers where they are. Like sometimes carers will come with, I suppose, very specific goals, and sometimes they may not. So we work with carers to put the strategies in place so that hopefully they can achieve their goals.
Great, thanks, Suzie. And like you were saying before, it's figuring out how carers learn as well, to be able to put the right tools in place to figure out what works for them, I think is a really valuable part of the coaching sessions. Yes,
definitely, Terri, that's really important, because we don't want to give you tools if you're not going to look at them or they're not going to be useful. So I like carers to be fairly honest with me about saying, well, look, I don't think that's going to work, or look, I don't use my calendar, or, you know, it's really, or I don't like online learning or whatever. So it's really important that we find out how best they learn.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Suzie. Kind of any other questions come through the Q&A, or should I keep going through our list of FAQs?
One's just come through right now. So when you say up to 6 sessions, does this mean there is a time frame, I think, to do them, or can I use 3 then and 3 at a later time? So does I guess the question is, do the 6 have to fall within a particular time frame, or can we do 3 and then 3, or I guess how does the timing work?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm very flexible, and I'm sure Janneke is too, that, you know, sometimes people might use all the 6, but sometimes you might do 3 sessions with somebody, and then you may put the file on hold, or you may even close the file, but people can come back at a later stage, and it's fairly easy to open the case so that you can provide another 3 sessions to the carer. And I've done that with other carers, you know. I've done, say, a couple of sessions, and then I've given them some information, and perhaps we've emailed each other, and then they've actually contacted me and said, oh, look, I have another couple of sessions. So we've been able to do that.
Do you want to add anything, Janneke?
I do. Yeah. So I think, as I said a little bit earlier, is that to reach a certain goal that you're coming to the coaching for, it's ideal to have probably around 4 to 6 sessions. But if there is another goal at a later stage, I think it's always worth contacting the Carer Gateway again and asking if you can receive some further coaching sessions. Again, that might vary in different regions as well. But yeah, by all means, I think it is, I would really look at it at like 6 sessions per goal.
Yeah, great. And I think that it goes into the next couple of questions I had as well, is that, you know, we might have a carer come to the first session and the goal changes within that first session, and second session might be actually starting with the goal. There needs to be some time to sort of work through the specifics of what that looks like to then be able to get the tools to achieve it. So I think, again, creating this sort of space and time for things to change so that you can be more proactive and the sessions feel more worthwhile is a good thing. But it goes into the next question I have, Suzie, which is, do you need to turn up to coaching with a goal in mind?
Really? Look, everybody's different. Some people do have quite specific goals, as I said before, but sometimes people are not really sure what they want to work on. They just know that perhaps they need to do some work to get, you know, more motivated, or to get out more, or to mix more with people. So, you know, sometimes people could have very vague sort of ideas. And I suppose through doing some work with values, as Janneke mentioned before, you know, we can use that to sort of help and assist carers to identify what their goals are. And often, sometimes I've worked with a carer, and the first session, it's really just sometimes getting to know the person and them sort of understanding what coaching is. And then, you know, sometimes at the end of the session or halfway through, we might come up with a goal, and then just put in some basic strategies. And then even the following next time I see them, we can sometimes, you know, work more on that goal. So
yeah, great, thank you. The next one I was going to ask, which follows this sort of train of thought, was, can you change your goal?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a really common question, a common thing that comes up, because, for example, I had once a carer that came to did a coaching session, and they said, oh, look, you know, I'd like to get fitter, I'd like to improve my health and well-being, and you know, and they said, oh, look, I know I need to go to the gym, or I need to do exercise, and And then once we unpacked it, it wasn't that they wanted to go to the gym, or it wasn't that they wanted to get fitter. It was about that they wanted to do some craft. So they actually wanted to do something for themselves. And I think the nice thing about coaching is that it's what you want to do. Whereas often I think as a carer, you've got a lot of stress and people are telling you stuff, and whereas I feel when you go through the coaching process with Carer Gateway, it's about what you want to do as a person. So I think that's a really valuable thing, a really valuable for anybody to do, really, that you put goals in place for you, not for other people. So thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Suzie.
Mm.
Janneke, what if coaching is not suitable for me as a carer if I was to start the sessions, but you've already sort of gone through maybe one or two and you just feel like it's not right, or at least not right at this time?
Yeah, that happens. Sometimes, yeah, we do get that situation, and the coach and the carer together, because they're in conversation, come across a situation when coaching is not really what the carer needs. Even if someone is using 2 or 3 coaching sessions to come to that discovery that coaching is not what you need, but perhaps you do need the counselling, is a great outcome of the coaching sessions. And I together with the coach, you can then decide on how you will go about receiving that counselling and what's the next step to get to that point.
Yeah, great. So we also support young carers who are carers under the age of 25. So Janneke, can young people actually access the coaching service?
Absolutely. We always would love more young carers to join the coaching service. Young carers may need some support with choosing subjects at school, or decisions around what to do after high school. Sometimes young carers need a little bit of help to finding the balance between study, a job, and the caring role as well. So yeah, we would really love to have more young carers in the coaching program.
Yeah, great. Perfect. Are there any other questions that have come through the Q&A, Carmen?
Not at this stage, no.
That's all right. I've got 2 more of our frequently asked ones left, so I'll go with those. But if you do have any questions you want to ask, please pop them in the chat now. But Janneke, if someone is sort of thinking about attending coaching, but they're not sure if they're ready, or they just feel like they don't have the time to book with a carer coach, is there an option for them?
It's a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because if you don't have the time, it's going to be a really tricky thing to commit to coaching. But for that reason, I think Carer Gateway has some online modules available. So you can do self-guided coaching online at your own pace, at your own time. You do need to sign up for it, but I've tried it myself because I was really curious, and it is quite easy to do. There is a lot of resources to find there, and it's even if you don't want to do the whole self-guided coaching, it might be a way to lead you to working with an actual coach a bit later on.
Yeah,
and if you are unsure if coaching is for you, you can also discuss this with the staff member who you have your carer start conversation with at the start of entering the service, and sometimes that staff member is able to give you the right advice for your situation.
Yeah, great. And then the last one that we sort of get asked a lot that I've got on the list here is, Suzie, what are the benefits of specifically attending, I guess, carer coaching as opposed to, I don't know, maybe something similar like a life coach, for example? What do you think the benefit of coming to a space that's specifically for carers is?
Well, I think one of the good things about the coaches through Carer Gateway is that we have an understanding of the needs of the carer, because we've actually either done some education or some study around that area. So we I suppose we have a good understanding of what you're going through, and I think that can help develop that trust and relationship, so that that a carer gateway coach can actually work with you and to be able to put in realistic and support you to put in strategies that hopefully you can follow through. So whereas a life coach may not necessarily have that understanding around the issues and the challenges to do with caring.
Yeah, great. Absolutely. Carmen.
So we just have one here. So are the coaches trained with trauma-informed approaches?
Look, the coaches receive a lot of training, and that's different in each area. Definitely the trauma-informed practice is part of the community of practice that coaches take part in on a monthly basis. And that group itself is developed to further grow the expertise of the coach in the areas of caring and experience with trauma.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of resources that we emailed or I attend some of those community of practice. We had one this morning, and we're always looking at ways that we can improve and we can update our skills. So of course some people have more understanding and more skills in that trauma-informed practice, but it is something that we're always trying to improve our skills so that we can support carers.
Yeah, great. And I'll add to that, it's not just at the coaching service level. We want to understand and respect the experience of carers no matter what point of contact they do have with Carer Gateway, whether or not that's our intake team, it's our carer support planners, it's our coaches, it's our counsellors, it's our peer support facilitators, etc. But I will say, in terms of the coaching, going back to that difference between coaching and counselling, if a carer isn't quite ready for the coaching service, we would really recommend something like our counselling service to sort of check in with that carer and see how they're going. And if they do feel they're in a position to sort of move towards that action-oriented space and set the goals, that's when we'd recommend the coaching. So I just wanted to add that in there as well. We really want to see how each individual carer is going. And that's where you have that part of the journey with the carer support planner to figure out what would be suitable for you. Any other questions in the chat, Carmen?
That's all.
Okay. We might leave the Q&A portion for there just for now, but if you do have any more questions that come up, either, as a result of this webinar, if it's about coaching or about anything else to do with the Carer Gateway service, please feel free to email us. There's the Carer Gateway carer engagement at holstephealth.org.au email address. Or also, if you have any feedback, we have a carer feedback at holstephealth.org.au email address as well. So really encourage you to utilise those if you need. We will also send a recording of this webinar, so don't feel like you have to write this down now. We'll give you all of the details so that you can get in touch if you'd like to. And as I mentioned at the start of the session, in terms of being able to actually register with the service, if you found this session helpful today and you are interested in seeing if coaching is right for you or one of our other services is right for you, you can get in touch by calling the 1800 number there on the screen between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. You can also scan the QR code and that'll bring up a form which will ask for your name, your email address and your phone number. It's also going to ask for a day and a time of the week that suits you for one of our lovely intake workers to give you a call and take something off your to-do list. Otherwise, we also have a translating and interpreting service available if needed as well. So there's a few options there in terms of getting in touch, but as I mentioned, we really encourage you to reach out if you do have any more questions through, any of the avenues you like. But finally, thank you so much for your time today. I hope that you've all found this session useful. It's demystified the coaching service a little bit, which we find, and that it sort of increased your understanding overall of some of the offerings that we've got at Carer Gateway. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for your support in helping with this webinar as well, Janneke, Suzie and Carmen.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for that. Thank you.